hammer was wrapped in an evidence bag when I found it, and the fingerprints on the handle didn't belong to my father. They belonged to people who've been missing for years. I didn't know that yet, obviously. At the time, I just knew it felt wrong holding it, like it didn't want to be held at all. My dad died last winter. Heart attack, sudden. I'm Aaron, 34, and I drove back to our old place in rural Illinois to clean out what was left. He was a quiet man, worked maintenance for the county, kept to himself after my mom disappeared when I was a kid. The house smelled like dust and old oil, and everything creaked even when I stood still. I found the hammer in the basement, tucked behind the water heater, sealed up like he'd stolen it from a crime scene. It was heavy, scarred, the metal head darkened with stains that didn't look like rust. I remember thinking it was stupid to feel nervous about a tool. I mean, it's just a hammer, right? Looking back, I should have left it there. Because the moment I peeled open that bag, I felt it. That quiet pressure in my ears, like something had noticed I was finally paying attention. I didn't touch the hammer again that day. I left it on the basement workbench and went upstairs, telling myself I was letting my imagination run wild. That night, though, I kept hearing metal on wood. Soft taps. Not random. Measured. Like someone testing weight. When I finally went back down there, the hammer wasn't where I'd left it. It was standing upright, balanced on its head, handle pointing straight up like a finger. I told myself my dad must have used it for work. That explained the bag. The stains. But the next morning, curiosity got the better of me, and I took it to the local police station. I said I found it with my father's things and wanted to make sure it wasn't stolen. The tech running prints went pale halfway through. He asked me where I got it. Then he left the room. When he came back, he told me the fingerprints on the handle matched 3 missing persons. Different years, different towns, all unsolved. None of them my father. If you're enjoying this story, hit subscribe. I post new horror every week. I drove home in silence, the hammer on the passenger seat, seatbelt buckled like it was a person. At a stoplight, I noticed something new. A fresh print, dark and oily, slowly forming on the handle. It was mine. I dropped it, right there in the driveway. The hammer hit the concrete with a dull, heavy sound that I felt in my teeth. I stood over it for a long time, hands shaking, staring at that print like it might crawl off on its own. I scrubbed my palms on my jeans until they burned, but the feeling didn't go away. That night, I dreamed of my father standing in the basement, his back to me, tapping the hammer against the wall. Not hard, just enough to leave dents. When I asked him what he was doing, he said, "I'm keeping track," like it was the most normal thing in the world. I woke up to the same sound. Tap, 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 coming from downstairs. I crept down and found the hammer back on the workbench, clean. No prints at all, but the concrete floor beneath it was marked with handprints, smeared and overlapping, like people had been pressing themselves up from underneath. I counted 6 before I had to look away. One of the prints was smaller than the others, and I recognized the ring it left behind. The ring was my mom's. Thin gold band, warped a little from where she used to twist it when she was nervous. She vanished when I was 9. No body, no answers, just one day gone. Seeing that shape in the dust made my knees give out. I sat on the basement steps and laughed, because I didn't know what else to do. I checked old boxes that night. Stuff I hadn't touched in years. Police reports, flyers, my dad's notebooks. That's when I noticed the pattern. Dates, locations, all near places he'd been assigned for work. Bridges, old buildings, abandoned houses, maintenance calls that never raised questions. The missing people matched those dates. Around midnight, the hammer started tapping again, louder this time, from inside the walls. Each hit shook dust loose, and with every tap, a name scratched itself into the concrete floor. Slowly. Like it was being written from the other side. The last name to appear was hers. And then, the tapping stopped. Behind me, I heard my father's voice, calm and familiar, right by my ear. "You're old enough now," he said. "Your turn to hold it." I didn't turn around. I knew better than that. My father had been dead for months, and whatever was standing behind me was wearing his voice like a coat. I told it no, out loud, over and over. My throat hurt from it. The hammer slid off the workbench on its own and rolled until it touched my foot. The basement lights flickered, and the walls bowed, just a little, like something weaning from the inside. I grabbed the hammer without thinking, more reflex than choice, and the moment my fingers closed around it, the noise stopped. Complete silence. I saw things then. Not like visions, like memories that weren't mine. Dark rooms, desperate faces. One clean swing, always one. The hammer felt warm, familiar. like it was relieved. I ran, threw it in the trunk, drove until the house disappeared in the mirror. I told myself I'd dump it somewhere. River, quarry, anywhere. But when I stopped for gas, someone was standing by my car staring at the trunk. He looked at me and said, "That thing doesn't let you quit." And when he walked away, I saw the print he left on my rear window. It wasn't his hand. It was my father's. I didn't sleep after that. I parked outside a motel and just sat there until sunrise, watching my reflection in the windshield like it might move on its own. The hammer stayed in the trunk. I could feel it back there, like a weight, like a promise. The next day, a news alert popped up on my phone. Another missing person. Same county. Last seen near a maintenance site my dad used to service. The comments were already full of guesses. Accidents. Runaways. No one mentioned the hammer. No one ever does. I opened the trunk that night. I don't know why. I just did. The hammer was cleaner than before, the metal polished, the handle dark with overlapping fingerprints that weren't there earlier. Some were small, some large, some fresh. I recognized one without trying. Mine was already fading. Subscribe if you want to know how this ends. That's when I realized the truth my father never said out loud. The hammer doesn't make you kill. It makes you responsible. After that, things started lining up too neatly to be coincidence. I'd hear about a crumbling property, an unsafe site, a place the city kept ignoring, and then the hammer would feel heavier, like it was pulling me in that direction. I didn't touch it. I swear I didn't. But the fingerprints kept changing, old ones fading, new ones appearing, like a cue. I went back through my dad's notebooks more carefully. He hadn't chosen people at random. Every name had a note next to it. Neglect complaints, bribes ignored, safety reports falsified. People who knew something was wrong and signed off anyway. I felt sick realizing it. He hadn't hunted them. He'd waited. The hammer tapped once that night. Just once. From inside the trunk. The next morning, the news reported a man missing near a condemned site scheduled for inspection. My inspection. I hadn't even accepted the job yet. When I checked the hammer, there was only one clear fingerprint left on the handle. Mine. And beneath it, burned faint into the wood, was a single word. Next, I didn't go to the site that day. I called in sick, turned my phone off, tried to sit still in the motel room like I could outwait it. By evening, the hammer started tapping anyway, not loud, patient. Each tap landed right behind my eyes. I checked the news out of habit. The condemned building collapsed an hour earlier. Empty, they said. No injuries. Relief washed over me for about 5 seconds until I noticed the address. Wrong building. The one next to it had people inside. The inspector never showed. Warnings never filed. Names already forgotten. When I opened the trunk, the hammer was wet. Not with blood. With rain and dust, like it had already been there. The handle was warm, and the fingerprints were gone again. All of them. Clean slate. That's when my phone buzzed back to life. One missed voicemail. No number. Just breathing, and my father's voice, tired but calm. "You don't get to save everyone," he said. "You just make sure the count stays right." The hammer tapped once more. This time, from my hand. I don't remember driving there. Just the sound of tires on gravel and the way the building loomed out of the dark like it was already waiting. The place smelled wrong. Old mold, wet concrete, something sour underneath. The hammer felt steady in my grip. Too steady. Like it had been made for me. There was a man inside. He wasn't hiding. Just sitting on a folding chair, paperwork spread out, flashlight on the floor. He looked up when I stepped in and smiled like we were both in on the same secret. He said corners had to be cut, budgets, deadlines. People always complain. I told him about the reports, the ones he signed off on, the injuries he ignored. He shrugged, said no one forced them to work there. That's when the hammer got heavy, when the tapping started inside my chest. I won't describe what happened next. You don't need that. One swing. That's all it ever takes. When I left, the building was quiet, and for the first time, the hammer felt light. Too light, because back in the reflection of the window, I could see a new fingerprint forming. Not his. Mine. I turned myself in the next morning, walked into the station, hands shaking, and told them everything I could without sounding completely insane. I didn't mention the hammer. I didn't have to. They already had a suspect. They always do. Someone easier. Someone alive. They let me go. The building was written off as an accident. Unsafe conditions. Tragic, but predictable. The man's name was added to a list people would forget in a week. I went back to the motel and sat on the bed, staring at my hands like they belonged to someone else. The hammer was on the nightstand. Not the trunk, not hidden. Right there, clean and patient. The handle was covered again, not just one print. Many. Layered. Old ones I recognized from the files, new ones I didn't. A few were already fading, I understood then. This wasn't inheritance, it was promotion. That night, I dreamed of my father sitting across from me, tired but lighter than I'd ever seen him. He didn't say anything. He just slid a notebook across the table. When I woke up, it was open beside the hammer. There was a new list, and my name was written at the top. I tried to ignore the list. Days passed, then weeks. I told myself I wouldn't look at it again, wouldn't touch the hammer, wouldn't answer whatever this was asking of me. But the tapping came back, always at night, always slow, like a reminder, not a threat. People on the list started showing up on the news. Not missing, not dead, just close calls. Near collapses, accidents that almost happened. Every time one of them walked away, the hammer felt heavier, like it was disappointed. Like I was failing a job I never applied for. I started seeing fingerprints on things I touched. Door handles, steering wheel, even my phone screen. They'd linger for a second too long before fading. I stopped wearing gloves when I realized it didn't matter. The prints weren't about contact. They were about intent. One night, I opened the notebook again. Next to my name, a date had appeared. Tomorrow. Same neat handwriting as the rest, same calm certainty. I finally understood what my father had carried all those years. You don't get to quit, you just decide how long you hold it. The date disappeared the next morning. No explanation, no relief, just gone. I sat there staring at the page, waiting for it to come back, for the tapping to start again, for something to tell me what that meant. Nothing did. The hammer stayed quiet for the first time since I found it. I left town that day. New job, new place. I don't inspect buildings anymore. I don't fix things. I keep my head down. But the hammer followed me anyway. It always does. Sometimes it's in the closet, sometimes in the kitchen counter, always close enough to reach. The notebook still updates. Names come and go. Some get crossed out, some don't. When they don't, the hammer feels heavier and my hands shake until I pick it up. I tell myself I'm preventing something worse. I tell myself that's what my father did too. If this story kept you up tonight, subscribe for more. I'll see you in the next one. And if you ever inherit something that doesn't belong to you, don't touch it. Because once it knows your grip, it never forgets.